Let's talk about the Orks post-Munitorum field manual. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. As always, my name is Jay. In this video, I wanted to talk about the Ork army and the bunch of point changes that happened in the Munitorum field manual and what we've kind of seen them shifting in the meta for what people are bringing. But overall, I think the Munitorum field manual was actually really nice to the Orks. The Orks were one of the several armies that came out really positive in the end from the Munitorum field manual. Some got really hurt, some came out completely neutral, i.e. AdMech. No change at all. That really hurts my heart. But that's a different story. So Orks. As you know, I love Orks. Orks are pretty much my favorite army to play. I love them. I'm going to be doing a painting challenge later this year where I'm going to be trying to paint like 250 Orks. That hurts just thinking about it. No, I'm kidding. It'll be fun. I'm getting my other painting. I'm going to be painting up my Tyrannid. Finishing up my Tyranids, and then I'll be working on probably a metallic army of some type, Necrons or Grey Knights, and then I don't know, maybe Orks after that. Maybe the other metallic army after that, we'll see, right? Orks are going to be a lot of fun. So Orks are an army that's really close to my heart. And what I found from this Munitorum field manual was that the units that are really highly taken in an Ork army to be competitive got adjusted. And I'm saying they didn't go up too much in cost. I think they got adjusted, slightly adjusted in a direction, obviously more expensive, but slightly adjusted. But a lot of things got more cheaper. So pretty much mechanized units got cheaper, right? Vehicles got cheaper. Walkers got cheaper, which is awesome. And a couple, just a couple small things went up, right? So it's not too much. But mostly the focus was mech to get cheaper, flyers to get cheaper, and then the more frequently used things got a little bit more expensive, but only slightly, and it's not really going to diminish their competitiveness in the game. They're really going to be brought at pretty much the same frequency, because with Orks you could just drop a few Ork boys to balance this point increase. So let's get started with the point changes. As you can see, there's a bunch of them. Most of them actually went down, which is awesome. So of course, first up, the Battle Wagon, right? The Battle Wagon went from 185 points to 160 points. So the Battle Wagon alone went down 25 points, which is huge. I'd actually like to see the Battle Wagon around 150 points. I think that would be a really strong area, like that you'd see them a lot on the tabletop if they're about 150 points. 160 is better, obviously, than what was before. Let's see. Right, it went down slightly in cost. It's still a very formidable unit, pretty survivable, and so we'll see if it's being brought a lot. The 25 point decrease is actually nice, but I'd love to see it around like 150. I think that'd be a real sweet spot for it, and I think you'd start seeing a lot on the tabletop if that was the case. The Boom Snaz Wagon, of course, great names, of course, went from 90 points to 80 points, 10-point change, cool. Overall, I think slight tweak in points. I don't think that really will change the competitive meta for it, but maybe we'll see more on the tabletop as well. It's nice to see a drop in points, right? It's better than an increase in points. The Hunter Rig also went down by 10 points, went from 160 to 150. Once again, this is a point where I think it's really fitting in around 150. 140s, 150 area. I think that's a pretty good sweet spot. I don't think it's going to jump too much in the future. And then, of course, the Kill Rig. So there's the Hunter Rig and the Kill Rig. The Kill Rig went down significantly. Went down 200 points to 170 points, so it went down 30 points. That's big. I think the Killer Rig has kind of been meted, in the last couple things. It was very competitive when it first came out. People were running 3, and then people eventually figured out how to way to deal with it. And in this edition, it's been too high in points for people to really bring it. But by bringing it down to 170, if they could bring it down to 160 even, I think it'd be really good, but 170 is a pretty good point drop, right? 30 points each. Maybe you'll see 1 or 2 on the tabletop. I don't think you'll see still 3 as it was in the Ork Codex first came out last edition. But even still, a 30-point drop is pretty good and significant, right? That's pretty nice to be true. One of my favorite units in the Codex, Killicans. I've always loved Killicans. Those who know me have seen my battle reports tons of times. I love walkers. I love Morkanauts and Death Dreads And Killicans, I love the Killicans, I love Grot Tanks as well, but Killicans actually went down in cost as well. They went from 150 points for a squad of 3 to 125 points for a squad of 3, which is cool. So it went down, 8.3333 points a model. So now a squad of 3 is 125 points. Once again, fun. Bring them on the tabletop, right? Point drop. I think these tweaks are going to start to see some mechanized orcs becoming more and more popular, right? And as you said, like these are the less represented armies, units on the tabletop as far as orcs go. So it's nice seeing them get point drops accordingly. And I said I'm going to love it. I have most of these units as you know. So I'm going to be fielding my my Killicans when I start painting up my orcs again, for sure. The custom Boosta Blasta also went down in cost. It went from 85 points to 75 points. 10-point drop there. Once again, most of the vehicles went down by about 10 points. The Morkanaut, huge point drop as well, from 332.95, so 35-point change. Again, the Morkanaut is tough because it's a lot less survivable in this edition, I find, than the last edition. Because no force field. I love the Morkanaut. I still think 295 is a bit expensive. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it belongs significantly lower. Like, I think 275 might be too expensive relative to what's in that range. The high 2s, early 3s. It belongs really like 250, 275, to be honest. Maybe 250 is too cheap. I don't know. But I still think it's a little too points costed right now. Maybe people are going to try it out and see. Obviously, these are point tweaks, and they're going to keep tweaking the armies as they go along. Maybe they'll see, people are going to try their Morkanauts and still see, you know what, it's still too expensive to bring a Morkanaut. 295, I don't know. I still think it's a little high. It's, again, not a very well represented model in this meta, in the competitive meta at least, because it's way too points heavy, right? It's the cost of a frickin' knight. So, less than a knight, of course, but knights can just do so much more than a Morkanaut. So, I still think it's a little heavy, but obviously it's going in the right direction. Minus 35 points, which is great. So, again, I'm trying it out, and maybe a bunch of people try it out, and GW's going to say, okay, maybe we need to drop it even further to make it a balanced, internal balance of the army. Knobs. Knobs went up in cost, but barely. Again, knobs went up from 105 points for a squad of 5 to 110 points for a squad of 5, so they went up a point a model. Big whoop, right? Again, a tweaking. I'm not upset about that. Knobs are a significantly stronger unit in this army. They're very well brought, especially in combinations with trucks. Knobs and trucks tend to be a very competitive combination. So knobs went up slightly, trucks went up slightly, but that's kind of where the increases were almost limited to, as you're going to see in these point changes. So, you know what, paying extra point for model for knob, big whoop. If you brought any of the models that I've already mentioned so far, you've already saved the 5 points. And so, cool, right? You could bring 2 squads knobs where you did before, and if you brought, one battle wagon, you've already saved the points significantly. You're already down points relative. So it's still a good shape to be in. I'm okay with the 5-point increase for knobs. Yeah, I'm okay with that. The Rocket Truck Squig Buggy, as I said, went down 10 points from 110 to 100. And the Shock Jump Dragster also went down 10 points from 85 to 75 points. So again, Shock Jump Dragster is pretty cool. 75 points, that's starting to get pretty cheap, right? Shock Jump Dragster is 75 points. Boom Daka is 80. Rocket Truck Squig Buggy is 100. They're starting to get cheap. And again, you might start seeing people bringing in a bunch of them. It'd be pretty cool. Squig Hog Boys. They also went up in cost because they're a very strong unit, right? Most of the competitive lists you look at have multiple squads in them. They're very strong, obviously, because GW really wanted the new orcs to be stronger than the old orcs, because then people would buy the new orcs, and they're really strong. So they went from 110 points to 125 points for a squad of 3, so up 15 points. Once again, 5 points a model. So, but they're just as strong. They're just a little bit more expensive. But once again, there's so many ways to mitigate the increase, and they're just as competitive. I still think they're going to be a main ingredient to most competitive armies because they're awesome. They move fast. They hit hard. They're you can easily maneuver them. They're cool, right? They're riding squigs. Pretty awesome stuff. And finally, trucks. Trucks went from 60 points, which is dirt cheap, to 65 points, which is still cheap, right? again, 5-point increase for a truck, that's not bad. It's just a tweaking, right? You can easily mitigate those point increases with your list, and they're just as strong as they were before to bring your armies across the table. People are going to bring hordes of trucks filled with knobs and just fly them at your opponent, get them into combat, have some fun. Ramshackle away, right? But that's it. So overall, really, knobs, Squighog boys, trucks went up in points, and barely, like tweaks. But a lot of vehicles, right? All those little buggies in the cars went down by 10 points. Battle wagons, Morkanauts went down in points. Morkanaut went down 35 points. Battle wagon 25 points. The kill rig 30 points. The hunter rig went down by 10 points. So again, tweaks across the board, which I think overall the Orks come out of the Munitorum field manual stronger than they went in, which is great. Orks, for a brief moment, were actually on the higher end of the win rates, and then they dropped significantly between the second last publishing and the most recent publishing. They dropped significantly. Now they're in the sweet spot, right? But I think Orks are going to keep being a fun army to play. I think they're going to win some games. I think this Munitorum field manual will actually increase the competitive meta, especially for walker lists, mechanized list Orks. If you're the person who like to fill your trucks full of knobs, you'll be paying a little bit more, but really, you can easily mitigate those point drops, right? I don't think they're significant. I think there are tweaks to the more competitive units. Nothing got nerfed into the ground. Nothing got super expensive. So tweaks to the better units, drops to the worse units. I think that's a sweet combination. But what do you think about the Orks post Munitorum field manual? What do you think? Leave comments in the comment section down below. What do you think is the best unit coming out of this? What do you think is the worst unit coming out of this? Do you think Morkanauts are still too expensive? I kind of do. Please leave comments and create a discussion in the discussion down below. But as always, please like this video, comment in the comment section down below, subscribe to my channel if you already haven't done so, and please hit that bell so every time I make a new video, you get to see it. Stay tuned for more videos, painting videos, and all videos about everything Warhammer 40k. Till next time, this is Jay saying happy painting your Orks.